Welcome back into another edition of Fast Five Sports. Got the whole crew here today. Griffin Demaray, Jacob Gallant, our digital king. I'm Matt Infield, joining you as we do every Friday. Fellas, how are we all doing today? All right?
Doing good. Excellent. Made it to the end of the week.
Beautiful. Beautiful day for Friday Football Fever. Finally, we've had, last Friday was pretty nice, but we've had some abysmal luck with the weather so far this year. 2 good Fridays in a row, though, and we are happy about that. Him and I will be out there tonight, including me at our Game of the Week. Let's get a look at the menu of games we have on tap for you on this glorious Friday night. Our Game of the Week is the battle for South Haven, really. The Chargers still looking for their first win of the season, taking on the 4-2 DeSoto Central Jaguars, about, 3-4 miles separating those two schools. So nice whole rivalry game going on there. Over at Crump, we have Manassas going to take on the Warriors from Central. I was at the Warriors game last week. That was our Game of the Week against Southwind. They lost, but that is a quality football team, so I think they'll put on a pretty good show tonight. Lakeland Prep going to battle with East, and then last but not least, we have Middleton versus BTW. A little bit of a smaller menu this week as a lot of schools are on fall break. A lot of schools actually played last night, but we still have Friday Football Fever on tap for you. We do have a South Haven Charger on this show with us.
Oh, hey now.
Yeah.
What do you remember? Was this when you went to school there? Was this like pretty juiced up?
Yeah. It was kind of roles reversed. It was kind of South Haven was a lot better than just DC at that time. Obviously not right now. Yeah, it's a fun rivalry. Any of the DeSoto County schools, when they play each other, it's a fun atmosphere.
So both first-year head coaches leading these programs, Randall Montgomery, who used to be at North Panola, he is now the man in charge of the Chargers, no pun intended, and Will Wolf, who is former head coach at Hernando, was at Oxford before this year. He is the new head coach of the Jaguars. Jaguars, like I said, off to a 4-2 start. South Haven still looking for that first win of the season. Both teams starting district play tonight, but forget district play. You know, this is a rivalry game. Like we said, it's a little bit juiced up. I had a chance to catch up with both those head coaches yesterday to discuss what exactly that means. I think we're still loading that video. Do we have it up?
Yeah,
I don't have it. All right, yeah, he's got to load that video. It's cool.
We can wrap around back to it.
Yeah, but either way, that is our Game of the Week. I will be there. Where are you at tonight?
I am at Central.
Okay, I'll tell you, so like I said, that was our Game of the Week last week. They played a really good Southwind team. That was a region game at Southwind High School, and I was thoroughly impressed with both teams. But really, Central, I didn't know what to expect from them. They were 5-6 last year. They were okay, but weren't as good in district play. But they have a really well-designed, creative offense, and that was kind of a counter-punch game for the first half. Southwind took control a little bit in the second half, so I'm excited to see them. You'll get a chance to watch them tonight and bring us those highlights. We have the soundbite up now.
Got it.
We do. Let's listen to Randall Montgomery from South Haven, Will Wolf from DeSoto Central about what that South Haven rivalry means.
Huge, man. You know, that's all everybody talks about. You know, when I took the job, the athletic director was like, man, we got to win some games. We definitely got to beat DC. So for me, just being a guy from down south, I don't really know much about it, but I know our kids are excited about it. The community talks about it. The school talks about it. So it's one game that we got to try to go out and win for everybody.
Anytime you are in the same city area like that, there's always a little extra something to it. But, it's all of these games within DeSoto County have a lot of importance.
You're saying Will Wolf from DeSoto Central?
Dude, he looks like the coach from Blue Mountain State. I'm telling you, I know some of you probably watched the show. He's like identical.
Great
the visor, the hair, and everything.
Fantastic show.
That was unbelievable.
Sure. So that's our Game of the Week. I'll have a preview at DeSoto Central High School coming up on Action News 5 at 6. Full highlights for Friday Football Fever coming up tonight at 10. Let's stick to the gridiron. Let's go to college. So we now know that the Memphis Tigers will be in action this weekend against the USF Bulls. I hope both teams have fun. I'm a USF alum, if you don't know. But obviously the talk of this game has been Hurricane Milton rolling through the west coast of Florida this week and whether this game would be played or not. So the answer is yes. It is going to be played in Orlando at Camping World Stadium. That announcement coming from the AAC yesterday. I will say, as a USF alum, as someone, I consider Tampa my second home. I spent 6 years there. Still have a ton of friends there. It is good to know that seemingly, the worst case scenario with the storm didn't totally come to fruition, because I'm telling you, Tampa's been spared by major hurricanes for 100 years, but there's always been that talk that when a major hurricane hits it directly, it would be catastrophic. Thankfully, it looks like that scenario was avoided this weekend. But that being said, a lot of the major roads there are still rivers. There's a lot of flooding. There's a lot of power outages. Probably not the best thing to have a football game there this weekend. So they will play at Camping World Stadium in Orlando. Going to be interesting. I'm telling you guys, I'm sure there will be some USF fans there, but it is not going to be the home field advantage that it normally would be, just because there are more important things for most of those fans to deal with right now besides a football game.
I'm wondering, too, if a lot of Tiger fans probably canceled their trip down there as well.
I imagine so.
So I'm thinking it might be a little bit of an empty stadium, which you kind of understand. But it'll be an interesting atmosphere to see.
It's one of those games where you definitely got to create your own energy.
Yeah, for sure.
Create your own energy. Day switched. There's everything
Different
going. You don't know if
city.
you're going to play or not. You're in a different stadium now.
USF's,
No fans.
USF's been in Orlando all week, too.
Yeah, so, I mean, definitely a little bit of create your own energy if you're Memphis. I mean, because at this point, again, you got to run the table realistically to get in. So no hiccups from here on out.
And I know that, that Memphis is flying in, I believe, today. So they've had a pretty normal week of prep other than just kind of waiting out to see where exactly this game would be played. But, yeah, I mean, people forget, Memphis is a touchdown favorite, which kind of makes sense. But, yeah, like you said, kind of lost in all this with all talk about the hurricane and coming off the bye week. I mean, Memphis is 0-1 in conference play. They're still looking for their first conference win since that bad loss against Navy. It'll be 3 weeks ago tomorrow. And USF, I know there's a little bit of a question of whether Byron Brown, their starting quarterback, really dynamic dual-threat guy, whether he would play. I imagine the extra day helps. I don't know. Now, the counter to that is whether they have everything available to them treatment-wise in Orlando, but we'll see. I mean, he's a dynamic player. USF also returns guys like Sean Atkins, who's the conference's leading receiver. So USF's 2-3. They got throttled by Tulane. Their defense is not very good. Again,
Tulane
looks really good, but also, I mean, their other two losses are to Bama in Tuscaloosa, where they had them on the ropes for three quarters basically, and at home to Miami. So, yeah, it'll be a good test for both teams. I think that obviously it goes without saying, every game from here on out is must win for Memphis, including tomorrow. So, be an interesting environment for sure. And then, hey, perfect guy to talk about the Ole Miss Rebels. This is the rest of the schedule. Ole Miss going to Death Valley, top 15 matchup, taking on LSU. That's going to be a lot of fun. Jacobs, Mississippi State Bulldogs, God bless and good luck on the road in Athens against the Bulldogs of Georgia. Bulldogs versus Bulldogs.
Just hope they don't cover.
It's like a puppy Bulldog versus a full-grown adult Bulldog. And then Tennessee looking for that bounce back, hosting Florida. I just want to say the prophecy that we talked about last week and that Arkansas is on a bye this week, right?
Yes.
Okay. We talked about last week, though. We said Arkansas, if they pulled one upset, they would put themselves in prime position to go to a bowl game, and that happened last Saturday against Tennessee. Now, we're not going to give ourselves too much credit. We didn't pick Tennessee to win. We didn't pick Arkansas to win that game. We just said if and when said upset happened, they would be in the driver's seat for a bowl. And like we said, they could easily be 5-0, 6-0 right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Pretty.
Overtime to Oklahoma State and what was questionable coaching down the stretch, and then they lost to
A&M.
In a game that they were leading for a long time.
Yeah.
The thing that surprised me about that game more than anything was really just Tennessee could not really move the ball very well. Nico, who we've been praising all year, he kind of struggled.
Bro, throw that ball to the end zone.
Yeah, they didn't have any deep balls. Arkansas completely took away the deep ball.
I'm talking about the last play of the game when he just ran out of bounds.
Sure. But for the whole game, they completely took away the deep ball, which Tennessee has been making a living off of this year. And then, scored enough points to
Dude, it's been a weird year in the SEC. It has been very strange. A lot of teams, I think, Ole Miss and Tennessee included, benefited early in the year off maybe not playing the best competition, and then you get punched in the face a little bit at home against Kentucky and at Arkansas. And then the thing is, it doesn't get any easier for either one of them. I mean, Ole Miss plays LSU. Last time Ole Miss won in Death Valley was 2008.
Wow. Okay. That's a good stat.
These are teams that play every single year. They play in Baton Rouge every 2 years. They haven't won since 2008. They haven't won a night game since the 90s in Death Valley.
This is our resident Ole Miss reporter, Ole Miss alum here. And that game last year at Oxford was fireworks, too.
Oh, my God. Unbelievable game last year. It's going to be – I'd be shocked if it was different. I think both offenses are going to put up a lot of points. It's going to be interesting to see what defense comes out. Similar to Memphis for Ole Miss, I'd argue you got to win out. I mean, you got to win out to just guarantee your spot. If you lose,
except for maybe Georgia.
If you lose to LSU, though, you can't lose to Georgia then. I mean, I think if you're a 2-loss team with a loss to Georgia and a loss to Kentucky, you have a chance. With losses to LSU and Kentucky,
3 probably not.
3 you're out.
No, I think I was watching SportsCenter earlier in the week, and they said this might be the first real college football playoff elimination game.
Yeah,
because whoever loses this game is probably done.
Yep.
That makes sense.
You were in Columbia last weekend. Now we were talking before that game, just in terms of I think the line was Ole Miss -9, and we're like, South Carolina, they beat out of Kentucky.
Yeah.
They took LSU down to the wire. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they covered. But I also, in the back of my head, I was like, this is kind of a fishy line. And it turned out to be a very fishy line because Ole Miss just put it on for 4 quarters. You were there.
Yeah, I think if you're an Ole Miss fan, you're still waiting for the run game a little bit. It looked great early in the year against Furman and early in the year against Middle Tennessee, but they have not found
Man said
it
against
since.
Furman.
I mean, yeah, it's obviously going to look good against Furman, but they have not found the run game since. I mean, it's been non-existent in Kentucky and South Carolina both. I think Ole Miss fans are still waiting for just that explosive offense. They're winning games, but it hasn't been good.
It sounds a lot like Memphis, too.
Yeah, they're winning games, but it hasn't been great. So I'll be interested to see hey, it'll all go away. All the questions will go away if they win in Baton Rouge, because then you really set yourself up for definitely a deep run.
Man, I'll say last Saturday against South Carolina, the electricity of not 1, but 2 big man goal line TDs. J.J. Pagay, just a bully ball down there. Although he was a bully ball in the first one, the second one, my man's got some sweet feet. He's got some sweet feet. He just kind of weaved his way into the end zone. So, yeah, I mean, but you got to be happy with the bounce back last week for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely needed it, especially after what happened. And, I mean, the sky was falling in. It was DEFCON 7,000, the world's ending. So, definitely the bounce back this week. But, again, in this league, as you can see, anything can happen. So, it's definitely a week-to-week basis in terms of no one cares what you did last week. You got to beat LSU this week.
We will stay in the Magnolia State. Have you seen the line for the Bulldogs versus Bulldogs?
I have not seen it. You want me to get a guess off?
Yeah, you get one guess.
I'll say 33.5.
Woo-hoo, 34.
Oh,
wow,
okay.
That was great.
So my thinking was
very nice.
They went a little too high on Texas because Texas
38.
didn't cover.
Yeah.
So I went
That's
a little
true.
under 38.
Yeah. So they come off the bye.
That definitely could happen. You get a bye week to kind of reset everything that's been terrible so far. But, I mean, realistically, they were competitive against Texas. There were a couple of drop balls on Texas's part that could have blew the game open. But
and Texas, even as good as you think Arch is, Arch is still their backup quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he did look good against Mississippi State.
He might be the best backup quarterback in the country, but he's still the backup quarterback.
I think he's proved that.
I mean, it was encouraging, and I imagine another week to get. Again, they're playing a true freshman at quarterback right now. Another week, maybe get him a little more acclimated with the playbook and just kind of up to speed on everything.
It can't hurt, but
this could be tough.
Hey, I mean, man, we've seen weirder things.
I mean, if we're going off of, obviously Vanderbilt last weekend over Alabama, but even Vandy, they were only 22-point dogs. This would be. It's not going to happen. It would be one of the biggest upsets ever.
I don't think it would be as big of an upset as that game, given all of the historical context of Alabama and Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt having already lost to Georgia Georgia State, Alabama #1. I don't think this would be that.
No, I think you guys go to Athens would be a bigger upset.
You would love it. They showed a stat on the game near the very end that Vanderbilt was 0-60
against top 5
teams.
Yeah.
If
if Vandy went to Tuscaloosa and won, I might agree with you.
All right.
Sure.
I can hear that.
I think
y'all going to Athens and win would be wild.
Georgia Alabama was probably the best college football game of the year.
Yeah.
But Vanderbilt Alabama is probably going to be my favorite.
Yeah. I can second that.
That game was incredible.
Good for the Commodores. We got one more game this week. We just hit on Arkansas on a bye, coming off the big upset win. The team that they upset, the Tennessee Volunteers, back home this weekend for their rivalry game, one of their rivalry games with the Gators. Who said sneaky upset potential?
Everyone punted on Florida. I don't know. I have not been high on Tennessee this year. I thought they were schedule merchants, maybe similar to Ole Miss, but that's just what I've been thinking since the beginning. But I don't know, man. Florida, they've looked decent the past 2 weeks. I mean, I don't know how good UCF is, who they beat last week, but handled the ball pretty well. Graham Mertz looked solid.
Wisconsin legend Graham Mertz.
They do have weapons. The things are there.
Yeah.
The pieces are there for Florida. And Tennessee,
My fear would be Tennessee is going to come out mad tomorrow.
they might just whoop them.
I'm not on your side on this one. I think
That's
Tennessee's
fine.
going to blow them out. I don't think Florida is very good right now.
We'll check back on Friday.
This will be a good early test. So for all the like you talked about, we have praised Nico Iamaleava a lot this year, and deservedly so. But he was not good in the win over Arkansas. He showed a lot of young quarterback decision making. All right, how do you bounce back from that?
Yeah.
What are you going to put on tape this week? We saw last week. You go on the road, you get upset by a less talented team. No disrespect to Arkansas. I think we could all agree they're less talented than Tennessee. You're at home this week. What are your biggest rivalry games? Probably your biggest rivalry game, because their rivalry week game is Vandy, right?
But I mean, there is Bama too, the third Saturday in October.
Either way, one of your biggest rivalries historically. How are you going to respond?
They're in a really similar spot to Ole Miss, where like if they lose, it's going to be DEFCON 7,000, like you said.
Yeah, it's curtains.
And they really can't lose this one. Like if you lose to Florida, you're probably
You're done.
knocked out, because they still have
And especially
Bama and Georgia on the schedule.
they
I
have
believe.
Bama and Georgia.
Yes.
So
You cannot lose.
yeah,
to
they're
Florida.
probably
Can't.
must win here
And they
on
got
out.
Kentucky.
I mean, you say that jokingly, but like
No, I know.
for real, like
That's more a shot at myself than anything else.
Kentucky
That is a
Kentucky
concern,
had,
though. Yeah.
Kentucky had Georgia in the torture chamber for a lot of that game, and obviously they went to Oxford and won that game. So
Yeah.
we said that's a bowl quality team at the very least.
If Arkansas's defense could shut down Nico, I'm pretty sure Kentucky's can.
Well,
too.
don't worry. Ole Miss goes to Fayetteville in
that'll be
November.
fun.
And
That'll be
they're
fun.
never good there ever. So we'll see.
All right, so that's college football slate this weekend. Let's talk a little
Hoops.
NBA preseason. The Grizzlies.
You want to hit on the AAC real
Oh
quick?
yeah, real quick. Let's actually do that, because that broke just before we got on here. So the AAC preseason polls are out. Preseason polls, teams of the year, players of the year. Memphis men's team picked second in the conference, behind the defending conference tournament champion UAB Blazers. You were really surprised by this. I am mildly surprised. UAB returns a pretty solid roster. They won that conference tournament last year. And listen, after the way the Tigers folded in the second half of last season of the conference tournament, I think that there is probably a certain level of healthy skepticism from the other coaches in the league. I kind of get it. I'm not saying it's right, but I do understand it.
I mean, it's definitely it's warranted. It's just kind of shocking to me. I know UAB brings pieces back from that team last year, and they were very experienced last year too.
Shout out Ole Miss legend Andy Kennedy.
Yeah. But I just don't. I don't know, man. This Memphis roster, you look at it compared to maybe UAB's roster, just straight up and down. If you're picking guys, if you're just playing pickup, and
But I got bad news for that argument, because let me tell you about how that game would have gone last year.
yeah. I mean, it's just
Because I think the Memphis roster last year was certainly more talented than this one. I like the build of this Memphis roster. I'm not saying this is a bad roster or anything. I'm just saying if you're going to go band for band as far as talent wise, the 2023 Tigers would probably beat the 2024 Tigers. But as we saw, talent only gets you so far.
And I mean, I'm picking against 2024 UAB, and I'm still feeling pretty comfortable.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's the confusion I have with it. But again, like you said, it does come down to you got to win the games. You can put together the best team, but if you don't win, like it doesn't. You're not going to get that respect.
And you got to play cohesively, and you got to play on both ends of the floor.
And you can't give up halfway through the year.
And you got to not bicker with teammates over stupid stuff.
And let us not forget the coaching turmoil of that team right now, where they just axed a bunch of guys a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I guess I'm forgetting all of that.
The betting markets do universally have Memphis favored to win the league, but again, they haven't won the league. They haven't won the league yet, so they got to do it. Memphis is the only team with two players on the All-AAC preseason first team. Those would be Tyrese Hunter, the transfer from Texas, PJ Haggerty, the transfer from Tulsa, Colby Rogers on the second team. We'll give a shout out to Alex Simmons' girls as well. They were 7th in the preseason polls, kind of middle of the pack going to their second year. USF picked to win the league on the women's side. They've been a force in women's basketball for a long time, so not really a surprise there. All right, now we want to talk some Grizz preseason basketball. All right, let's go. Last night, their first home preseason game, coming off the win against the Mavericks it was Monday night. Yeah, coming off the win against the Mavericks on Monday night. No John Morant last night after he turned his ankle. I mean, the Grizzlies' injury luck is stupid. I mean, he got hit by a pass in the ankle, and that turned his ankle. So, missed last night. Taylor Jenkins said they're going to be cautious with him, but nothing to be concerned about. And Ja himself said, I'm good. Jared Jackson Jr. is still out with the hamstring, the low-grade hamstring strain that, again, they have said no need to be concerned for the regular season opener. Brandon Clark was out with a little bit of knee soreness. Again, they say nothing to be concerned about. We shall see.
Here we go again.
Hopefully that's true. So
and then you had Marcus Smart yesterday as well. I know it wasn't anything, but when you see him coming up limping again, you just got to be like, man.
Yeah, so Marcus Smart banged knees, came out of the game, got his knee wrapped, went back in, came out, although he said post-game, if it was a regular season game, he would have been playing. So, again, hopefully nothing too bad. But let me just tell you, man, so 119-94 was the final Hornets win. But, I mean, this is going to look very different from the Grizzlies' side this year, especially on the offensive end. Do we have a Taylor Jenkins soundbite?
Yes, sir.
Let's actually play that real quick, and then we'll get into a further discussion.
And some, key ingredients for sure, which makes it a little bit tougher. But, tonight we didn't have our pop. For sure. We weren't playing at the pace that we needed to. Guys have been training hard, just kind of fell flat today. Okay. You could see that early in the first quarter. We weren't getting to the paint as much as we could. Obviously, we were taking the ball out of the net, so our defense, I told these guys, nights like this when we don't have our pace, we still can control the defensive activity. We turned it up in the third quarter, but obviously the Hornets had a heck of a night. But I'm liking what I'm seeing from all these guys. I mean, the movement's been there. We got to initiate, some advantages a little bit differently, and that's stuff that we'll just continue to add. But stressing the movement, the pace, we just fell a little bit flat today.
We'll get to that later.
Little tease there. I will say, as someone who I shot the game last night, someone who was there, man, it's just like the pace that they're going up and down with, like off of missed baskets, off of made baskets. The pace is something that is clearly a huge emphasis offensively this year, and the amount of movement in the half court is way different, which we talked about these new assistant coaches that come in with these fresh offensive ideas and this new system that's being implemented. It is going to look a lot different this year. It may be a little bit sloppy, especially early on, but I think that anyone who has complained about that offense being too stagnant in the half court the last couple of years or too reliant on let 12 cook, call 12, whatever you want to call it, I think it's going to be a little bit different this year. There might be a little bit of a learning curve, and they've admitted as much, but it's fun. It's a lot to keep up with, especially when you're behind the camera trying to follow the ball in the half court. But I think that it's going to bring them an infusion that they really needed, and something that hopefully with time can help take them to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you knew it was going to be complete. It's going to look so much different than last year's product on the court, just because, again, got a lot of new guys, and I think you look at today's NBA, you can't just run half court and, like you said, let 12 cook. Today's NBA, you got to go up and down, especially in the West, where it's just athlete on stack team and stack roster. So you're going to have to beat a lot of teams, and the way you beat them, I think, is with the things that the Grizzlies excel at, which are big man in the paint on defense, protecting the rim, and getting up and down the court.
I will say as well, just in terms of, I think that it's going to take some time, but this is something that I don't want to give too much credibility to this argument, but I am chronically online like a lot of people. There are people on Grizzlies Twitter after 2 preseason games calling for coaches to be fired, players to be cut, all this. You got to stop. Please. Pump the brakes on this. Get some fresh air. It'll be all right. If this is what it looks like after 41 games, getting into February, March, different story. We got to stop with some of this stuff.
With all due respect, that new run and gun style of offense last night had Conchar and Santi in the starting lineup.
I saw there were people
respectfully.
There were people complaining about Conchar playing. They're like, they said they were one injury away from. They had more depth this year. They're one injury away from Conchar playing. Conchar played last night. Conchar started because Ja was hurt, because Gigi Jackson was hurt, because Vince Williams Jr. was hurt. The list goes on and on. They are not one injury away from John Conchar starting. They are multiple injuries away. To be honest, I think once they get to the regular season, you're probably going to see guys like Jalen Wells take some of those minutes as well. Mm-hmm. And again, John Conchar is not the worst 11th man.
Everyone got too much beef with John Conchar.
No.
John Conchar
got way too much beef with
Should John Conchar be in the playoff rotation? No. Is John Conchar the worst 11th man in the league? No as well. Relax. Give it time. This is going to look a lot different in February than it does in October. If it looks bad in February, then sure, you can call for whatever changes you want because clearly this is a win-now roster. But we'll see. On that note, there was an interesting interaction on Twitter. You just got a little sneak peek of it earlier this week, where I think it was NBA TV. They put up which players are primed for a breakout season. This is actually from the annual NBA GM survey, and there were 5 players listed on here. Number 1 was Jalen Williams of the Oklahoma City Thunder, Evan Mobley, Ja Morant, Victor Wembanyama, and Paolo Banchero. To which Ja replied, respectfully, why I'm on here with the facepalm emoji. So I think that there has been collective amnesia from the rest of the NBA world outside of Memphis about who Ja Morant is and how good he is and how good he has been as a player. Ja Morant's breakout season was 3 years ago. A bounce-back season this year? Sure, that's fine. He's played 9 games since May 2023. Bounce-back, comeback season, whatever you want to call it. Breakout season? This guy has had multiple seasons where he has been arguably a top 10 player in the league.
We already had this discussion when he was named Most Improved Player.
Even other guys on that list. Paolo was an all-star last year.
Yes, correct. I think all of these guys have
Victor Wembanyama was like the most well-known name in basketball. Like, are these really considered
We've lost
breakout
the plot.
guys?
This is going to lead to our awards discussion and a different award. I'll talk about most improved player. We're going to discuss that. But I think that for a guy to have been All-NBA twice, multiple-time All-Star, the engine of 2 50-plus win teams, and I get they haven't had the playoff success that they want. But y'all got to remember who Ja Morant is. Because I promise you, by the end of the year, if he stays healthy, some of the guys that are now being put ahead of him in these guard discussions, and no disrespect to guys like Tyrese Halliburton, I'm a Knicks fan, like Jalen Brunson, De'Aaron Fox, others, by the end of this year, if Ja Morant stays healthy, you will once again be saying that you're taking Ja Morant over all of those guys.
Yeah.
The only guard breakout that I could sit here and justify you saying you would take over Ja Morant is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. If you take SGA over Ja, fine. I get that. I think Shai is that caliber player. But everyone else, put some respect on his name. And I get it. He's got to prove something to a certain extent. He's played 9 games the last 2 years. 2 years ago or the last calendar year, the 8-game suspension 2 years ago, they get bounced early in the playoffs. Last year he plays 9 of 82 games. I get all of that. This guy is a force.
I think people forget how good he was in those 9 games. That Grizzlies team really struggled during his suspension. He comes in and kind of lights it up, and they started winning until his injury.
I mean,
that happened.
This guy's averaged over 25 points per game the last 3 years when he's been healthy. Mm-hmm. I'm just confused at what people think a breakout is. Clearly, this whole NBA survey, like I said, I think Jalen Williams' breakout year was last year.
Yeah.
Right.
Evan Mobley,
That one's fair.
I guess to an extent, that's fine. Wemby, the most obvious breakout in NBA history coming. Paolo Banchero was an all-star last year. One of the engine of a Magic team. So really, I have beef with kind of this entire survey. But put some respect on Ja Morant's name and remember how good he is. Because, and listen, again, he's got to do it. But if he's healthy, I think it's going to take care of itself. So that's it. All right, let's talk some NBA preseason awards or awards before the season starts because we've got a week and a half before the regular season actually starts. So let's talk some awards, some favorites, some launch shots, all of that. Now I was looking on FanDuel, and FanDuel's award selection right now is kind of weak. They only have MVP and Rookie of the Year on there, and NBA Tournament Cup MVP as well. Which
There was also Bronny James bets. Don't forget.
and
You
they've
could
got
bet if Bronny James is going to score 20 this year.
32.
Really good odds. Really
Plus
good odds
6,000.
on that one.
Plus 6,000 for Bronny to score 30 points in any NBA game.
Respectfully,
Hammer it.
if you're betting on the NBA Cup in the
Call the
preseason,
Get help.
get help.
1-800-GAMBLER.
Get the help. If you're betting on Bronny James to score 40 points in a game this year, get help.
What if he does it
Seek
for
help.
the Santa Cruz Lakers? Does that count?
I don't think that counts.
Don't think FanDuel's respecting your money with that. All right, let's start. I know we've got it listed. Do we want to go in order on this list, or do we want to go?
We can go whichever order you want.
Okay.
I kind of saved the best 2 for last.
Okay, we'll go in this order, then we'll save the best 2 for last. All right, Rookie of the Year. Grizzlies fans will be happy to know that Zach Edey is the favorite for Rookie of the Year. On FanDuel, he is plus 400. Are either of you biting on that? I'll tell you right now, I am not. I'll tell you who I'm taking in just a second.
I'm not biting. I like Edey. I think he's got a good shot at winning Rookie of the Year. I'm not biting on that, though. I think I just don't think he's going to provide enough offensively to get there. My pick is going to be Stephon Castle.
I like that, actually.
I like any rookie going into Greg Popovich's system. He's got Wemby to throw lobs to. He's got Chris Paul to learn under. I like his game. I think that's my pick. And kind of a low year. Nobody else really is standing out for me. So that one was actually the hardest.
Yeah, I
pick for me.
I do agree with him that I don't hate the Edey pick. I just think there's too many mouths to feed in Memphis.
Yep.
There's too many dudes there already. I look at Reed Shepherd. He's second in the
my pick.
odds, plus 400. Reed's that guy, and I think he's going into a system where he can be very ball dominant in Houston and kind of be the engine with that offense, with Jalen Green, with a couple of those other young pieces. So I love Reed Shepherd. I think he's going to be lights out shooting wise, which in today's NBA we all know that you need. So yeah, I like Reed Shepherd in Houston.
You got him plus 400? FanDuel's got him plus 650. Edey's plus 400 on FanDuel.
I just looked at some Vegas thing and had them all. So.
Reed Shepherd is my pick as well. I think he's going to turn out to be the best player from this draft class.
Yeah.
Like maybe the best shooter coming out since Steph Curry. And talked about in Houston, he's got a chance to handle the ball a lot. Talk about a team with a lot of mouths to feed. Low key, they do as well. You talk about Van Vliet, Jalen Green,
I
Alperen.
forgot about Van Vliet.
That's why I shied away.
He was there.
That's why I shied away from Shepherd, actually.
Şengün, Jabari Smith, who was number 3 pick 2 years ago. So
They just had so many lottery picks. It's tough to keep up with.
Shout out DB, Dylan Brooks as well. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I do think that Reed Shepherd could be an impact player as a shooter and as a facilitator right away. And if the Rockets make the playoffs, or even if they make the play-in, which I think they have a decent enough chance to, yeah, I think that I like his odds. It's a very weird year to be picking this award because there's not any obvious standouts. I think situation is going to matter, but I'm going with the player that I think will end up being the best in this draft class and who looked awesome in Summer League as well, it must be said. Okay, Defensive Player of the Year.
Do you wish we all say it at the same time, or do we want to go one at a time?
Wemby.
It's Wemby.
Yeah.
I think we've already written him in. I think it's
minus 155
at
on
this
FanDuel.
point. It's you have to prove me that you're not the defensive player of the year, rather than prove that you are the defensive player of the year. Voter fatigue. Gobert's not winning. There's no way they're going to vote him in again.
The only other guy is maybe Chet, but Chet would have to have an unbelievable.
Yeah, maybe
season.
like an Anthony Davis if the Lakers are somehow good this year.
Yeah,
but
stay on the court.
I just have this image seared in my brain of shooting a Grizzlies game last year, and the Grizzlies on a 3-on-1 fast break that Wemby just completely stopped by himself. I've never seen anything like that in my life. Gigi Jackson, who it was Gigi after a game last year, said, and listen, Gigi said some things, but I think he's honest, and he said he's going to be one of the greatest defensive players ever. And listen, Gigi's young, he doesn't have a ton of experience in the league, but that was after sharing the court with him, I think twice. Gigi had a hilarious quote last year. Remember, he was like, he's so high up, when he talked trash, it sounded like he's whispering. Hilarious quote. But yeah, man, unless Wemby gets hurt, I think it's easily his award to lose. And minus 155 on FanDuel would kind of reflect that. So I don't know if I'm paying that price, but I think it's either him or you take a longer shot. Like Jaren is plus 2,500, which is not bad odds. And when you consider the setup for Jaren this year with Zach Edey, he's going to have more of an opportunity to play as a weak side defender and kind of roam a little bit, which is the role he was in when he won Defensive Player of the Year 2 years ago. So if you want a longer shot, maybe banking on Wemby missing some time, Jaren plus 2,500 is interesting, but yeah, I think we all agree it's Wemby's to lose. Six man like Lou Will. What do we got? You have a long wait, or is this most improved player?
no, we're on sixth man.
No, okay. Where's your long shot? Is it six man or most improved?
My long shot's on MVP.
Okay. All right. Who do you have for six man?
I mean, I have to pick Naz Reid, respectfully, to go back to back. I think he probably gets a bit more minutes now that Cat's off the team. He leads that second unit. I do think there's a good shot at Malik Monk because I think a lot of people thought it was his award until he got injured last year. But I worry that the addition of DeRozan might take some of his shots. So I'm rolling with Naz Reid to run it back.
He was right on with me. I have Malik Monk plus, I think it was 600, or there's other ones where you can see it. But yeah, I think again it was his award last year until he got hurt at the end. If he stays healthy, now again similar to what we were just talking about, a lot of mouths to feed in terms of guard wise there. I did like the value on DiVincenzo as well in Minnesota, but I do worry about his time with maybe them trying to work Dillingham in eventually as well. So a lot of guard play there too. But yeah, I like Malik Monk and I like the DiVincenzo too. If there's some value there.
I'm going to let the New York bias take over on this one. I'm going with Josh Hart. He is plus 7,500 on FanDuel, which is a wild price. But, obviously the trade for Karl Anthony Towns, there's been talk about their starting lineup is incredible. Depth is a little bit more, I don't think it's questionable, but they're a little bit thinner on the bench this year than they were last year. So I think Hart, in that expanded role in the playoffs last year, showed how valuable he was, rebounding, defending, knocking down the timely threes. So I'll let. He
was a triple-double machine there for a little bit.
Oh yeah, whenever Jalen Brunson was out, I mean, I've got friends that were making pretty good money off betting Josh Hart triple-doubles there because until the books caught up, he was plus 4,000 a couple times when they were missing a bunch of guys. So yeah, I think with a more expanded role this year, a little bit less firepower coming off the bench, I like Josh Hart. Coach of the Year is an interesting one. Okay, I have a bit of a hot take on this one, but I will let you go first.
Coach of the Year, I think, is usually just who has the best team. Realistically, it's who
or an overachiever.
Or an overachiever, yes, like the Thunder last year. But the Thunder were the best team in the regular season and an overachiever. I have your boy, Chris Finch.
I do as well.
I think the T-Wolves are going to have a very good regular season. I could see them in the West being the 1 or 2 seed. And I think in the West is clearly the deeper conference and the stronger conference. I think Coach Year is going to come out of the West, and I think it's going to be whoever the 1 and 2 seed is. And I like the Wolves being that team.
I have Finch as well. I think Minnesota's chances of grabbing the 1 seed are pretty high this year with the depth they've added. Finch worked with Randall in New Orleans. They were together on the staff, so there's familiarity there. Running back a lot of the same roster. I mean, it's a loaded roster. I think you got to be one of the top records in the league to win an award like this, and I think Finch is every bit one of the best coaches in the league.
So Tom Thibodeau is the favorite at plus 700. I get that. Taylor Jenkins is actually third at plus 850, which, if the Grizzlies end up as a top 2 or 3 seed, I could see that as well. I think Finch is a good pick. Okay, I'll go with a safer pick, and I'll give the long shot. The long shot, he already looked at me like I was crazy. You haven't heard it yet. I will go with Jamal Mosley. I think if the Magic jump into the top 4, which I think is definitely possible after last year, I think he's going to get a lot of love for that. I don't know if they're going to – I can't see them being better than Boston, New York, or Philly. But if they end up better than the Bucks, which I have no belief in Doc Rivers, so I think it's definitely possible. If they end up in the top 4 in the East with a home series, I think plus 1,000 is reasonable. By hot take 1, J.J. Redick.
Yeah, I'm not buying that one.
I think that, I think that he is going to implement an actual, real, grown-up NBA offense for the Lakers. And if they overachieve, which I don't know what level they could overachieve to because it's hard to imagine them being better.
What's overachieving for the Lakers this year? Like a 3 seed?
The West is just so deep.
I don't think they could get a top 3. But if they get the 5 with that roster, it's they're behind only...
It is J.J. Redick and LeBron's the coach. They might give them the award if they finish in the West.
If they only finish behind what? Denver, Minnesota, OKC, and what if the Lakers are the 4 seed?
Yeah, I think you got a good case.
I would throw very minimal coin on it, but of guys in that range, I think that it is within reason, I suppose.
I think if they finish top 4, like you said, and their offense looks really good, I think that's. I mean, JJ is probably going to be an offensive-minded guy.
Low key too, I will say on here in that same range at the same price, if Mike Budenholzer could get the Suns to play any semblance of defense, which is what he's known for, plus 2,500 on Budenholzer is a little bit interesting too. I will not be betting on Coach of the Year.
Neither will I.
Although I do have FanDuel on the ropes for Coach of the Year in the NFL because your boy put $10 on Kevin O'Connell plus 2,000 before the season. FanDuel want to cash me out. I'm not budging, not yet at least.
Not budging.
Next one is most improved. Is this the one where you were?
Yeah. So I realized what you were asking me earlier. Now I was confused, but I understand. I did pick a long shot. I grabbed this guy before I looked at the odds. I love his game. I'm going with for most improved player. I hope I don't butcher his name. Ayo Dosunmu.
Yep.
Ayo Dosunmu. For the Bulls, I think they got to get Levine out of there like yesterday. That Bulls team is rebuilding. Dosunmu looked really good when they put him in the lineup last year. I think last year was probably Kobe White's year to win Most Improved, even though they didn't give it to him. I just like his game. The other guy I thought of was Keon Ellis for the Kings, but again, like I mentioned, that is a deep roster. They added DeRozan. I just don't know how many minutes he's getting out of there.
Here's my thing with this award. We have lost the plot with this award. I think,
Yeah,
admittedly,
absolutely.
I think we lost the plot with this award when Ja Morant won in 2021. I think Ja Morant would tell you that himself because he gave the trophy to Desmond Bane. Ja Morant was the number 2 overall pick.
Yeah.
Like I think we need to get away from giving this awards to players that are clearly on a superstar track. Because the favorite for this award this year is Victor Wembanyama.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
This is the best draft prospect of the last 20 years. Why are we giving him like?
And how much is he really going to? I know he's really good.
Oh, no,
how much is he really going to improve skill wise? I mean, he's already very good at everything.
Okay, let's go. To answer your question, I think he can still improve a lot. But again, he's clearly on that trajectory. Just like Ja Morant was on that trajectory. To me, the spirit of this award is for guys that really make that leap out of nowhere and catch your attention and just kind of like an unexpected fashion. To me, like that's what this award is all about.
I think last year was pretty.
Maxey won it last year.
I mean, I think that's a fair
So the last
assessment because Maxey was a guy last year who, coming into the year, was needed to be that second piece after James Harden left.
So the last 10 winners of this award: Maxey, Markkanen's fine. Morant, again, like we've lost the plot with Ja Woody. Julius Randle, yeah,
he did come. Kind of a resurgence in his career
I agree with
a
that.
little bit.
Brandon Ingram, Brandon was a number 2 pick in the draft. I kind of get it, but still. Siakam's like a worthy winner of that. That makes sense.
Oh, for sure.
Oladipo, again, number 2 overall pick, but sure.
But yeah, I mean, Oladipo was a number 2 pick.
So what I'm hearing is, go ahead.
Oladipo had those years where he wasn't that great. I mean, there's a couple in there, yes.
What I'm hearing is to win this award, you got to be the number 2 pick.
That's kind of what it looks like.
So the favorites for this award are Victor Wembanyama, number 1 pick last year, Evan Mobley, number 3 pick in 2021, Jonathan Kuminga, number 7 pick, I believe, in 2021, Josh Giddey, number 6 pick, I believe, in 2021, Jalen Williams, who, again, I think Jalen Williams has already made that jump.
So are you saying that this pick should only be going to guys who were drafted lower?
I think that I don't know if draft capital means a lot. It should mean as much, but I think that like we knew after Ja Morant's rookie season that he was going to be a mega star.
Yes, I agree with you. That
we know that Wemby is well on his way to becoming one of the best players.
I agree with that one as well.
It's got to be versus your expectation from the beginning of the season to how you finished.
Yes.
Okay, here's my favorite pick for this award. He's just outside the top 5, and the odds. I love Jalen Johnson of the Hawks.
Yeah.
I think he is ready to make a huge leap this year. Two-way wing, super athletic, really skilled. Like I'm a big fan of him for this award. He's plus 1,300 on FanDuel. He's between plus 1,200, plus 1,800. So that's my pick. I just hope it's not Wemby. Respectfully to Wemby, because Wemby's incredible. But that's just a lame pick for this award. You guys can go ahead.
But what is like the threshold for Wemby to win Most Improved? Is it like he's MVP? Is like how much better do you have to get from where he was? Like how much better does he have to get to be the guy that won that?
Most improved,
you know?
But that's kind of crazy. I had kind of like what Jacob said. I had Kobe White. I think Levine gets gone at some point and he steps into a major role and puts up 20 a game. I think that one is a fair one. I know he had a good season last year, but I could see him having that kind of Maxey-esque season, going to maybe not an all-star per se, but kind of going to a 20-point reliable scorer instead of just a guy off the bench.
Kobe White was pretty firmly in those discussions last year, so
I think he was the deserving winner in my opinion. Yeah. I think he should have won it.
I mean,
because
again, Maxey, I believe the year before, was putting up about 16 a game and was a nothing in the playoffs. Didn't even touch the ball because James Harden and Joel dominated so much. And then he came in and was, I mean, you watched that Knicks game in the playoffs, and he was the guy.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't even look at Joel.
I was more scared of Maxey than I was Joel in those games.
Maxey was great, but it's what I said, like the expectations from the beginning of the season. I think a lot of people expected Maxey to make that leap because Harden was gone. Nobody expected Kobe White to be a star player. Yeah. Like Geno Smith.
He wrote back.
Let me give one long shot for this. And it's a long shot, but I do kind of see the logic behind it. At FanDuel, plus 5,000, Scoot Henderson.
We talked about that just before we got on here.
I believe in the prospect. He had a rough rookie year, but you saw the light bulb kind of start to turn on at the end of the year. It takes some of these G League Ignite guys.
Okay, so my question for you is, Oladipo was the number 2 pick.
Yeah.
Didn't exactly get it going.
Yeah.
He ended up winning that award.
Yeah. Fair.
Logic says number 2
Number
pick.
2 pick. Logic does say number 2 pick.
That might be worth throwing a little cash on.
Just a little bit. By the way, Wemby last year was 21 and a half, 10 and a half rebounds, 46, 47, 33, 80 from the field. Let me see his blocks. And he led the league in blocks. So, yeah, for him to be most improved, he's probably going to be what, like 27 and 13, well, up in the averages. At that point, he's in MVP discussions.
Yeah, that's what he's
Right.
So,
if he does,
that one I firmly agree with you. That is ludicrous.
if he gets close to 30 a game, I'll be like, okay, let's just give him every award.
all right, let's go. Let's get to the fun stuff here. MVP. Okay, I will give a favorite, a medium, and a long shot pick for these awards.
Okay.
My favorite pick is the favorite for the award on FanDuel. At some point, Luka Doncic has to win an MVP.
Yeah.
Plus 380. They're coming off a finals appearance last year. If they're towards the top of the West, listen, I get it. Jokic is always going to be in contention for this award. I kind of wonder if after 3 MVPs, right or wrong, voter fatigue will kind of set in with him. Although I kind of thought it might have before last year, and clearly it didn't. At some point, Luka's too good. He's got to win this award. And it's probably got to his health and his conditioning probably is part of him winning this award, but maybe this is the year. My medium sampling is Ja Morant, plus 3,400. If the Grizzlies win 50 games, if he's on the court for the majority of them, and he has his big bounce-back season like we talked about, I think it is well within the realm of possibility that Ja gets the attention and the love for that. Connected to Ja, my long shot pick, plus 7,500, Zion Williamson. We've heard a lot of great things in training camp about him. I think the Pelicans are another team that sneakily could be a top 4 or 5 team in the West, and if they're in that conversation and Zion's kind of doing some of the point forward stuff and dominating down low, I think it's worth a little sprinkle.
I got SGA is my favorite just because I didn't want to pick Luka because I felt like it was too obvious. So I picked SGA, even though he's the second best odds to win it.
To be clear, long shots do not win this award often.
No, it's usually always the favorites unless someone comes out of nowhere. SGA is just a crazy scorer, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he just finds different ways to put the ball in the hoop, putting up 8 assists a game too. It's all dependent on the Thunder's success.
If they win 60 games, though.
If they win 60 games, it's going to be hard for them not to give him the award. My long shot was Paolo.
Yep.
Real long shot, but I mean, like we talked about with the Magic. If the Magic get to that 3 seed, I mean, let's say Embiid gets hurt, doesn't play a lot this year, you could see a world in which they fight for that 3 seed, maybe even a 2 seed. If the Magic are a 2 seed, the only way that happened is Paolo had an incredible year.
Yeah.
And then that could spin the tide his way. I mean, I don't know. That's just my long shot. He's plus 20,000.
If that happens, maybe he should win Most Improved.
Fair.
He could double down on it.
So we're reading each other's minds on this one. I've also got Luka. I think this is the year he does it. He's probably going to put up about 30 a game.
Yeah.
I do think the voter fatigue is real. I don't think they're going to want to give it to Jokic, just to be honest. But I do think Luka would be deserving. Honestly, if you would have gave it to him last year, I probably would have been okay. I think Jokic was the deserving winner.
Yeah.
But, I didn't have a medium, but since you added one in there, I'm going to throw out Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, I was thinking about him. He's like plus 11.
I could easily see him making like the Shea kind of leap into like a high 20s scoring, especially with Towns gone.
And he's got that juice around him. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He has that.
And the narrative.
That buzz, and
the media energy.
And the narrative. Like,
Right.
if they trade Towns and they have a similar level of success, and he makes that leap, then yes, he's going to be right in the thick of the conversation.
And he's on every highlight reel. My long shot was also Zion.
Hey, my man.
We got Slim Zion.
Yeah.
He's looking really good. I don't love that they don't have a center, but I love that they added DeJounte Murray. I love all the defensive help that he's got around him, and he's easily the number 1 option on that team. So I think he's going to put up a ton of points. And really, he's been kind of what we thought he was going to be when he's been healthy. It's just staying on the court.
Well, I mean, people forget. I mean, that playing game against the Lakers, I think they were going to win that game on his back, and then he pulled his hamstring late in that game, which sucked for him. But, yeah, they were when he played last year, they were awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, if they, I think we're kind of thinking the same thing. If
they were the year before that, weren't they the 1 seed for a majority of the year until he was injured?
Yeah.
That kind of tracks. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
For like 30 games or so.
I think he's capable of carrying that team to heights that they've never hit before.
Listen, I get he gets roasted. He's had trouble staying on the court. He's had some interesting off-court situations, I guess we could call it, which we don't have to dive too deep into. But when he's on the court, he's a hell of a player.
Yep.
So hopefully this is the year. And yeah, the Ja and Zion being the thick of that discussion would be fun as well. Okay, finals picks. I'll give it real quick because I want to. It's like soap in my mouth. As high as I am on the Knicks this year, I will avoid the inherent bias with this. I'm going to go Celtics versus Nuggets. I will not say a winner, which kind of tells you who I think the winner will be. But I think
they're not going back to back.
Why not? This sport is the easiest one to go back to back in.
I guess. I don't know. I just don't want it either.
Who do you have?
I had the Wolves, then I wrote the Sixers, but that's going to be a clown show for me. Just because I didn't want to write the Celtics. But I do think the Wolves out of the West, though. I think the T-Wolves get there this year. Close last year. I think they get over that hump. So I picked the T-Wolves out of the West, and in the East, I refrained from selecting.
I did not avoid the bias that you did. I'm going with Minnesota. That team's loaded. I still don't like the Towns trade, but I love the additions. And, yeah, I'm going Celtics out of the East because they just have the pieces to run it back. They're locked into that roster. They're deep. They defend. They shoot. They do everything that you need them to do. So, yeah.
Hot take, Joel doesn't get hurt in the playoffs. Then the Sixers make it.
That'd be
Still
a
no.
first. That would be
still
a first.
not going to happen.
All right, enough praising the Celtics. All right, let's talk actual playoffs that are going on right now. Man, these baseball playoffs have been electric for like the last week plus. We have 2 of the Final 4 teams set, and it is both New York teams. The Yankees advancing to the ALCS last night, beating the Royals in 4 games. I'd say I'm sorry about the Mets beating the Phillies.
It's
I'm not
classic,
sorry at all.
It never ends.
I'm not
Stop.
sorry
Pain and
whatsoever.
suffering never ends.
My dad's a Mets fan. I'll actually be in New York next week, so I might try to go to one of those LCS games. But the matchups are still to be determined. We have 2 Game 5s. Padres-Dodgers tonight, correct?
Yes.
In L.A. at Dodger
Darvish
Stadium.
versus Yamamoto.
Darvish versus Yamamoto. And, of course, the Ohtani factor. So there's a lot of big-time Japanese players in that matchup. Talk about the global game right there. Excited for that one. The Padres were my World Series pick, so need them to come through tonight. And then we have Game 5 tomorrow between the Tigers and the Guardians in Cleveland. That game actually got moved up. Hey, Joy Red over there. Detroit native. I didn't know she was a baseball fan, but I guess she is. I just hear her yapping about the Lions in Michigan all the time. But yeah, that game's going to Game 5.
Scooball's on the mound for
Screwball
Detroit.
on the mound for the Tigers, the presumptive, I think, unanimous Cy Young Award winner in the AL. The Guardians forced Game 5 with a win last night. So, yeah, man, these playoffs have been awesome so far. The Yankees beating the Royals kind of comfortably. Garrett Cole pitched really well last night. The Mets obviously advancing on the back of Francisco Lindor, who has the Mets have had 3 of the biggest home runs in franchise history in like the last week and a half, and Lindor's hit 2 of them. Pete Alonso knocking out the Brewers was the other one. And then, Padres-Dodgers has been – I mean, a couple of the games have been blowouts, but, like, it's just been a fun series. Like, the Stars, by and large, have come out to play. Think about Fernando Tatis Jr., Mookie Betts. And the Dodgers haven't had Freddie Freeman the last couple of nights, so we'll see if he – have they said anything about him playing tonight? I don't know. He's got a badly sprained ankle.
I think he's supposed to be back.
Okay, we'll see on that.
I think he's back. I'm not 100%.
Who's going for the Guardians tomorrow? Do we know?
They haven't announced yet. It's looking like Boyd.
Matthew Boyd. Okay,
Yeah.
a little former Tiger.
Former Tiger.
For a Tiger revenge game. Kind of. I kind of sneakily want the Guardians to win. I just think that Guardians-Yankees would be a better series. Although the Tigers
I feel
run.
like you have to cheer for the Tigers, though.
The Tigers run would be
I'm
fun,
all
though.
in on the Tigers. I love what they're doing. Scooball on the mound, I think, is a huge advantage for them tomorrow night.
Man, the thought of potentially careening towards another Subway Series, though, is kind of wild at the same time because it's definitely possible. And the Mets have that magic going right now as well. I think they definitely – I know I read something the other day. The Mets would be underdogs against either the Padres or the Dodgers.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
And I get that, but as we've seen in these playoffs already, anything could happen, especially in baseball. So Padres-Dodgers tonight is going to be fun. Tigers Guardians tomorrow will also be a good Game 5. I think I'm going Padres tonight. I'm going Padres tonight, Tigers tomorrow.
Ditto.
I will say ditto, but I think Dodgers Padres is a complete coin flip tonight. I could see it going either way.
This is, Yamamoto, as great as he's looked at times this year, this could be a little different animal mentally. And Darvish has pitched in these games before.
This is where you make your money.
Yep.
Darvish famously pitched an elimination game for the Dodgers in Game 6. Was it Game 6 of the Game 6 to Game 7 of the 2017 World Series when the Astros were banging the trash cans and hitting him around. So he's got a chance for a little redemption. All right, man. You guys have been wanting to burn me over the stake on this one, so I'll let y'all take it away on this topic.
Yeah, so the NFL, last week we talked about head coaches, kind of who's on the hot seat. One coach we failed to mention was Robert Saleh.
I think I said he was on like the adjacent hot seat.
Okay, so he went over to London where Aaron Rodgers famously has bad times.
Yes.
And they decided that they weren't moving forward with him anymore, and he's done.
Yeah, he's
so,
not there anymore. He's gone. The
was it Aaron Rodgers?
The organization
who's to say,
decided
yes.
to get rid of him, right?
Did Aaron Rodgers have a say in that firing? Who's to say? But yes.
I really think as a Jets fan that has watched this organization just flail basically my entire life, this strikes me as, listen, I know Rodgers, there's going to be speculation around it. I'm telling you, I think this was a Woody Johnson call. I think this was Woody being impulsive. I think there's definitely an angle of this is kind of a fun little theory. I don't know how much truth there is, but it's fun to run with it. Woody was the U.S. ambassador to the U.K. under the previous president. Obviously, they lose in London. Was he embarrassed by that? Did he impulsively decide to fire Robert Saleh on Tuesday as a result of that? I think that's definitely a possibility. Listen, was Robert Saleh a perfect head coach? No. Did I think that he deserved more than 5 games with an actual quarterback to prove himself? Yeah. Yes. Yep. People are pointing to his record. 20-36 in just over 3 seasons with historically bad quarterback play for probably 50 of those games. Now, he had a little bit of say in drafting Zach Wilson, for sure. So I'm not going to say he doesn't totally get let off the hook for that, but he deserved a little bit more time. I think that Woody was feeling the pressure of this win-now season with Aaron Rodgers at the helm. They had 2 really bad – hold on. Let me pump the brakes and say that. The Broncos lost 2 weeks ago at home was atrocious. Yeah. Have to win that game. Now, I think the Broncos defense is better than a lot of people expected, but they have to win that game. Just an atrociously played game by the Jets.
And
going to London, and Aaron. Going to London, Aaron's not great, but the Vikings are really good. Like, the Vikings defense is
their defense is giving
buzzsaw.
teams nightmares right now.
And here's the crazy thing about it. Remember, we came on here the day after they beat the Patriots on Thursday Night Football a couple weeks ago, and the offense looked great. And I know the Patriots stink. I'm not saying that was some hallmark win, but everything looked good. And 2 weeks later, you're firing the guy. And again, in those 2 losses, the Broncos' loss was atrocious. If Greg Zuerlein makes a 50-yard field goal in bad conditions, I'm aware, this probably doesn't happen. If Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson connect on a double move in the final minute on Sunday when Garrett got completely behind the defense, this doesn't happen either. So, now, that being said, they come out of the gate slow every week. They commit more brain-dead penalties than any team in the league. That, to me, is coaching. But it is not just Robert Saleh. I understand he oversees the entire operation. Thankfully, Nate Hackett got demoted. He's still the offense coordinator, but Todd Downing, former Titans OC, is now the play caller and the primary play designer. And Downing is media to media every week. So Hackett is offense coordinator in title only because, and I get it's part of doing business with Aaron Rodgers, but obviously Rodgers and Hackett have a great relationship going back to their time in Green Bay. Hackett stinks. Worst offense coordinator in the league, easily. They run an elementary offense based on guys winning ISO routes when they have one ISO route winner in Garrett Wilson. So if they're going to run this style of offense, which to be determined if they still do it under Todd Downing or not, go trade for Devontae Adams. make it happen now because you need more guys that can win on these ISO routes. If you have Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson and then Mike Williams hopefully back to full health pretty soon, then okay. Then you might be able to survive with this kind of offense. But if you're going to run this rudimentary offense with no motion, no play action, and just say, go win your routes, and Garrett Wilson is the only guy that can win his route, and Alan Lazard, who just drops every other ball that's thrown his way, go get Devontae Adams and see what you can make happen.
Yeah, get to bring Rodgers and all his friends.
I mean,
If
Adams
Rodgers wants to bring Devontae Adams, I am more than fine with that.
Adams did have a ton of success in Hackett's offense.
He did.
Let's be clear, though. Hackett's offense in Green Bay was successful because Matt LaFleur was his boss.
Yeah.
Right. I think the thing is, like, trading for Devontae is an all-in move, and you just fired your coach, which is the opposite of an all-in move. Right? I don't know.
Think so. I think they fired Saleh to try to give this team a spark to make the playoffs this year. I don't think this was we're giving up on the season. I think this is Woody, right or wrong, thinking they need a jolt of energy into that room to spark them here on out. I think this is Woody saying, I'd rather fire him now than get to week 12 where it's too late and it's pointless at that juncture. That's my read on the situation. They think they can salvage this season, which, to be clear, if they can stop playing stupid football, if Aaron can play a little bit better, and they can clean up some of the details on offense, I think it's possible. I'm telling you, it might sound crazy. I would not be shocked to the slightest if they beat Buffalo Monday night.
If you could do all those things, I think you could do them all with or without Devontae Adams. I think they have enough talent around Rodgers that they could turn the thing around.
I think they're one pass catcher short.
Yeah. I mean,
I think that I think the thought of running out Devontae, Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, and in your 3 wide receiver sets as opposed to Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, Alan Lazard is a lot more scary. I will say too, people have been complaining about the offensive line over the last couple weeks. They play 2 really good defenses that throw a lot of different looks at you in the Broncos and the Vikings. I think they are a good pass blocking offensive line. I think their run blocking is atrocious, but we shall see. But again, that is on coaching. That is on Rodgers at quarterback to adjust protections and whatnot. So we'll see. I don't think the season is over at all. I think that there is still a lot out there, but they need to get on track starting Monday night against the Bills. All right. So you've heard me rant about the Jets for 5 minutes, which is what I think you guys want to see. So that's that. We'll see. The season's not over, but we got to get turned around pretty quickly here. Let's finish off with some trivia.
I got some good trivia for you this week.
Okay.
All right. So, speaking of quarterbacks who are not performing well, Deshaun Watson, in the midst of
performing that badly.
Right. Sure. In the midst of a historically disastrous season, his QBR is 21, the one that goes up to 100.
0 to 100.
He's at 21, which would be the worst in decades. I was going back a lot of seasons and could not find one worse than that. However, his passer rating, the one that tops out at 158.3, is at 74.8, which is also not good, but it's not atrocious like the 21. Can you name the 4 quarterbacks with a worse passer rating than Deshaun Watson?
This year?
This year.
Bryce Young, does he count? Has he played enough?
Will Levis?
No. Yes, Will Levis is on there.
Good
He's
guess.
at 72.8.
Will Levis. Jacoby Brissett.
Jacoby Brissett is on there, 74.2. Jalen Hurts is not on there.
Dave, you threw
You
your
get
boy
sick.
under the bus.
Not been good. I'm just calling it like it is.
How many games? What's the minimum games played? Like, is a Skylar Thompson or a Snoop Huntley on here?
No.
Okay. Make sure.
There is a guy on here that has only started 3 games. But
Is Richardson below him?
yes, Anthony Richardson has the worst in the league by a lot. He's at 60.2.
Interesting. Was that 3 or 4?
That's 3.
There's one more.
One more. Okay.
He's been really bad.
We mentioned him earlier.
We mentioned him earlier. Was it Aaron?
No.
No, he's not that bad.
My go-to is Danny Dimes, but it's not him.
No, Dimes been playing a little bit better
Not
lately.
Danny.
Good.
Huh?
I said not Danny. It is Mr. Bo Nix at 71.4.
Which is funny because I feel like he's been playing good ball the past couple weeks. But
He's not good.
He's a check down merchant.
He's a check down merchant.
He always has been. He was at Auburn. He was at Oregon.
Yeah, he's a check down merchant.
All right, so here's a classic name some dudes one. Actually, the last 2 are, but So the Detroit Tigers are 1 win away from making the ALCS, their first since 2013. Name their starting lineup from the deciding Game 6 that year.
Miguel Cabrera.
2013. Yep. He was the 2-hole hitter.
I may tap out.
You got him in you. There are no, like, outrageous names on here.
Is Torrey Hunter on that team?
Yes. He was the leadoff hitter.
Hey, Torrey Hunter.
The legend.
Let's see. Are you including the pitcher? Was Justin Verlander the starting pitcher?
Verlander was not the starting pitcher.
Price?
No.
Scherzer?
Yes.
Okay.
There you go.
Scherzer was the guy.
Okay, let's see.
I don't know why, but I'm thinking Ian Kinsler. Is that all right?
No, that's a good guess,
That's a
but
really
it was
good
not
guess,
Ian
actually.
Kinsler.
Wow, I should know more of this too.
I think Kinsler was traded to Detroit maybe the year after. Or
Yeah,
2
that
years
sounds
after.
about right. Prince.
Yes. Prince was the 3-hole hitter.
Prince Fielder.
How did I forget Prince? That's who I was thinking of this whole time. I couldn't think of a name.
Big U was DH? Or Prince was DH?
Maybe he was probably playing third.
Neither of them were the DH.
What was Biggie playing? Biggie was playing third?
Third, probably.
I believe he was.
Yeah.
And Prince playing first?
I should have made a note of that. I know in my head who the DH was, and it wasn't either of them. So
Okay,
Miggy must have
Torrey.
been at third.
Man. I feel like it'll be a lot of names. Granderson was in New York by this time, right?
Yeah, not Granderson. They had.
Yeah, I'm tapping. Go ahead.
All right, so we've got DH was Victor Martinez.
Okay, good player.
The hitting cleanup. 5th was Johnny Peralta, Cardinals legend.
Cardinals led to John Peralta, yep.
Alex Avila, Omar
Catcher.
Infante, Austin Jackson was the
Austin
center
Jackson,
was the center fielder, and then Jose Iglesias was at shortstop.
Wow. Jose Iglesias of the OMG Mets.
Yeah,
Look at that.
they lost to the juggernaut Red Sox that year.
Oh, that was when Big Papi hit the grand slam into
Yeah,
into the
he was
bullpen.
the
God,
ALCS MVP.
you want to talk, I've never been more terrified of a hitter in my life in the playoffs than Big Papi in 2013.
Oh, yeah.
When the Cardinals played in the World
Just
Series, I mean, they
unreal.
had no chance to get him out. It
Unreal.
was nuts. You got anything else?
Yeah, so on the topic of 6th man of the year, last year Naz Reid won with 13.5 points per game. Can you name every 6th man winner to average 18 or more since 2000? I saved you with it since 2000 because there were some older guys on there.
Jamal Crawford's got to have it once.
Yeah, he did it twice.
Okay.
All right.
Lou Will?
Lou Will also did it twice.
Ginobili?
Ginobili's on here.
That's a good one.
How many more we got?
6 more.
Oh, wow.
I thought those guys wanted a lot. Oh, Maxey? No. I'm thinking
No.
Most approved. Yeah,
My
yeah,
bad.
yeah. Man,
Man.
I'm not as caught up on 6-man winners.
Did Eric Gordon win one?
He's not on here.
That's a good guess. That's a really good guess.
The 20, 21, and 22 winners are all on here.
20, 21, 22.
They're all on here.
Okay, 20 was the COVID year.
So 20, if you remember, was 2 winners, and they're both here.
They had 2 winners.
They had 2 6-man winners? Wow.
God, the NBA.
Lou Will was one of them,
Lou Will was one of them.
and the other guy split the award with him.
Give us conference.
What team was he on that year?
It's fun.
I got no idea. I think I got my 3.
Think of some classic. I mean, there's some classic 6 guys on here. One is still playing. He's in Utah.
Jordan Clarkson?
Jordan Clarkson.
Okay.
One, I'm sure you love this man. He played for the Knicks.
Oh, J.R. Smith.
J.R. Smith.
No way.
This gentleman. There's an NBA Finals legend on here.
Andre Iguodala?
No.
No, he's there average. No.
Think earlier than that.
Think earlier than Iguodala?
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
NBA final.
Had a big finals.
Ray Allen? No. I was thinking maybe Miami. Lamar Odom.
I thought you guys would have done a little bit better with this one. There's a legend from the run and gun Phoenix Suns team
Joe
on
Johnson?
here. No,
No.
I don't think he was the sixth man. And then we have this. We have another active player who still on the same team, but he starts now.
It's not Bobby Portis, no, right? No.
That's a good guess. I do love Bobby.
Everybody loves Bobby.
What's happened?
All right, so Tyler Hero was the 22 winner.
I just think of him as a starter. Yeah.
Right. The finals legend was Jason Terry.
Oh.
That's a good one.
The co-2020 winner was Montrezl Harrell.
Montrez averaged 18 a game?
Where was he? Washington?
Clippers, right? Or no? Was he Clippers?
That's why I said I don't remember what team he was on. I think it was the Clippers.
I think he was on the
I believe it
Clippers.
was the
I think he was
Clippers.
too.
Would never
And
guess Montrezl Harrell.
Phoenix Sun legend was Leandro Barbosa.
Yeah, I had Barbosa on my mouth. I was like, there's no way he averaged 18 a game.
He sure did. In 2007. That team was
Wow.
putting up incredible points.
Nah, I just
There's your
the
trivia today,
07 Suns.
Leandro Barbosa.
I probably would have guessed that like Barbosa's max was 15 a game. All right, that was a terrible performance in trivia. With that, we're out of here.
Poor.
3:30 crew's got to get ready to get their show ready to make some TV magic. We'll be back next Friday. We will also have Friday Football Fever preview coming up on Act News 5 at 6. Full show tonight on Friday Football Fever at 10. Gentlemen, been fun. It's been real as always. For
sir.
Jacob Gallant and Griffin Deveray, I'm Matt Enfield. We will be back next week, but for now, we are out.